Hey, Lokati here. We are doing an update to our Healing Hands Paladin build. We have made a few changes to it. We have pushed up to 561 corruption on it, and we're ready to rock and roll. So we're going to go ahead and do a quick 561 corruption echo so you can see how everything goes. It's an arena, so these are kind of boring, but pretty straightforward. One of the big changes here is that we do have access to generating our ward before battle because we are now casting Healing Hands via Seraph's Blade instead of triggering it with Vengeance. So that is a nice bonus for us here. And since we no longer need Vengeance, we also picked up an extra skill slot and have filled that with Volatile Reversal, which is going to be giving us a 60% more damage multiplier on targets that we hit with both of our rifts. And it's going to be giving us 30% increased global attack speed, which is absolutely huge for our build. Attack speed is one of the best multipliers we can get for our build because we are using a melee attack. It does count as a spell, however, so we need cast speed instead of just regular attack speed. So we are getting cast speed on our gloves, on our weapon, and on our relic. And we're also getting it from our passive skill tree, and then we're also getting it from Holy Aura, and then Volatile Reversal would be the last one. Playstyle is the same. You run around attacking everything. When you attack things, you generate ward. The ward keeps you alive, and you pretty much just tank everything. Damage is phenomenal. But this is a 561 rift, and most of the things don't even live through the first of the two attacks that occurs every time we hit with Healing Hands. So I think scaling is going to be perfectly fine going up to 1,000 corruption tomorrow. I think we're averaging maybe 40 or 50 corruption an hour. So it's a fairly decent rate as far as building corruption goes. I think we'll be able to hit somewhere between 900 and 1,000 tomorrow on the build. Now, gearing did change a little bit, and we'll go over gearing as soon as this little echo is done here. Like I said, we moved away from attack speed and moved to cast speed because even though Seraph's Blade is a melee ability, it is still a melee spell as far as the game is concerned. I assume that is a bug or an oversight on the dev's part, and hopefully that'll get fixed next season. But in the meantime, we scale with cast speed, gloves, cast speed on our relic, and cast speed on our deck. We're sitting at about 113% cast speed right now when we are under Holy Aura and Volatile Reversal. That puts us up to 152% increased cast speed. Since Healing Hands has a 1.456-second base cast speed, that gives us 3.6 casts per second, and every cast has a chance to trigger Cleric's Hammer if you hit a target, which means we get 7.3 attacks per second with our ability. This is a tremendous amount of scaling from us from an attack speed and far superior to the 4 casts per second that you get with Unbroken Prayer, especially since Unbroken Prayer hits randomly around you, which means you're only hitting about 65% of the time, so you're really hitting the target about 3 times per second. So we're hitting 7 times per second. Unbroken Prayer would be hitting 3 times per second. Now, in addition to that, we are scaling our damage still with Siphon Anguish and Shattered Chains, so that we have Doom giving us more melee attack damage, and we're still stacking healing effectiveness, attunement, and crit multi everywhere we can. Now, we did make a change to our idols, and so we have a fire penetration one here and a shred armor one here, and we would like this one to be a fire penetration or shed armor, but these are mostly the same as far as the idols go. My helmet, I did manage to finally slam +3 healing hands into it. If you don't have the +3 healing hands, you can take 2 points out of here and 1 point out of here, so you're 2 and 2. But the rest of the tree will remain the same. We need Cleric's Hammer, we need Divine Barrier for Ward. We do need the mana reduction so that we don't have to worry about mana and we can keep our Sigils of Hope up full time. We did only put 1 point in Virtue of Patience because the cast speed penalty here is multiplicative. That's very, very bad for us. So we only want 1 point in Virtue of Patience. And obviously 2 out of 2 in Bane of Evil and Seraph Blade to powerful build. The volatile reversal we picked up to take the enemy damage taken buff and the global attack speed buff. We also pick up some move speed, and we have 2 rifts, so this is 60% instead of 30%. And then we take both of the cooldown recoveries, so we can use it about as often as the buff itself lasts. 4 seconds, and our cooldown is 3.6. This one right here only lasts 2 seconds because we travel 2 seconds back in time. So we do like the chance to recover cooldown on boss so we can get a higher uptime on our global. Holy Aura is relatively the same. There's no changes here. Sigils of Hope, we did move down and take Polygram to go with the Tetragram so that we have more sigils and an increased healing effectiveness and mana efficiency so we can go up full time. And for our movement ability, we are taking Lunge. Lunge is primarily here for maximum kill threshold, execute, and vulnerability while lunging, and then cooldown reduction for our lunge. If you don't want to take lunge, you can use javelin as your movement ability and pick up an aura from javelin, which increases your damage at 2% for attunement. And so this would be a larger single target damage, but at a loss in maneuverability in the echoes. I spend more time running around an echo. I think lunge is better for the build in general, but your opinions can vary. And so javelin is a good solid backup choice for that if you don't want to take lunge. Now for our passives, we did pick up Blade Master as part of our dual wield build because this is cast speed, and so it's a huge benefit to us. We did take 5 points out of Relentless and move it over into Valiant Charge, so we have increased recovery on our cooldown for movement skills. And over in Paladin, the tree is pretty much the same. Not a lot of changes here. I do have 1 in Forge Guard on Battle Hardened right now just because I am shy on my physical resist, and so that caps me on my phys resist. You obviously wouldn't need that if you're capped on phys resist. I should also cap poison resist as well, but frankly, nothing is killing me, so I really don't care about it right now. Now we have 2.6k armor, which is something we need to build on. So this is a defense we need to start putting some focus into. We did a little bit with our plate here with armor and percent increased armor on it. But having a peak of the mountain really holds armor back on the build. So there will be a point in time once everything else is scaled properly that we will probably shift away from peak of the mountain and run a copper ring here with critical strike chance instead of increased elemental damage on it. And then get an Eye of Irene where we slam a 5% melee crit strike on it to compensate for the loss of our Bone Amulet is still the most ideal choice, and everything else, like I said, Solaron Steps are still phenomenal. The Argent Crest is still good, and then our cast speed and our health loss per second on our bracers. Now, we are farming Frostbite Shackles right now, because that is going to be an important addition to the build. Once we get a 2 LP Frostbite Shackle, we can slam the cast speed and the current health loss per second onto it, and we'll be able to equip that and then continue scaling our cold resist so that we have a lot of ward retention. Once we do that, our ward will be able to scale in the 60 to 80k range instead of the 25 to 35k. So that is our current in-game goal, is to get the Frostbite Shackles. We're also looking for Solaron Steps with legendary potential on them because we would like to slam attunement on here and move speed. Be really, really nice to add on here. Shattered Chains, we can also upgrade with legendary potential. There's a lot of options on your belt slot. So we'll go over that once we get a couple of legendary potential and decide what we want to add here, but it'll probably be fire damage and cold resist. I think that's probably ideal. Now, as always, if you have any questions, come to my Twitch channel, ask me. It's really the best way to get answers. I build these builds live in the game. They're not theory crafted, and so they're adjusted on the fly. And some small adjustments and some big adjustments as I play the build and learn how it works and how we can improve on it. And there's a lot of interactions between items and gear and a lot of scaling issues that you might not understand. So come by Twitch, ask me questions. You can also leave a comment down here in YouTube and I'll get to it and get your question answered as well. I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times, but like, subscribe, follow. These activities are crucial for creators to continue doing what we're doing. and we really do appreciate it. If I didn't earn it, don't do it, but if I did, it'd be really awesome. Now, that's really all we're going to talk about for today. We'll have an update tomorrow once we get this up to about 1,000 corruption and we continue pushing and figuring out gearing and making small little changes. But thank you very much for watching, and y'all have an absolutely wonderful day.